Ladies and gentlemen, in just a few hours from now, the Prime Minister, who is on his 10th visit to the United States of America, will be meeting his good friend Donald Trump. Before that, he'll also be meeting Trump's right-hand man, Elon Musk. However, this meeting has come under circumstances which couldn't have been more different from the Howdy Modi bonhomie that was evident in Texas in 2019. Ever since he's come back to the Oval Office, Trump has been fuming and fretting over making America great again, at the cost of his ties with the rest of the world, including India. Today, in fact, hours before he meets Prime Minister Modi, Trump has vowed to hold a press conference and announce reciprocal tariffs. Now, we are not sure if India gets impacted, but this is not exactly the mahal that the government of India would have wanted ahead of that big and much anticipated meeting. Now, anticipating Trump's tariff tantrums, India has already slashed tariffs on high-end Harley-Davidson motorcycles, a move that's squarely aimed at wooing Donald Trump, who for long has been pushing for lower import duties. Earlier, all imported bikes faced a 50% tariff, but now, for engines up to 1600 cc, the duty is 40%, while for those above 1600 cc, it's been cut to 30%. This reduction is expected to make selling premium motorcycles like Harley-Davidson slightly more profitable for the US. Slashing the tariffs on Harley-Davidson is not the only key move in which India has bent backwards to keep Trump happy. As we saw earlier this week, India has agreed to take back illegal immigrants deported from the US, addressing a key American concern. Moreover, in a significant policy shift, the nuclear liability law is also set to be amended, potentially paving the way for greater US participation in India's nuclear energy sector. This is something we want. We want greater American participation. In spite of all these overtures, President Trump is still blowing hot and cold, threatening reciprocal tariffs. Which is why the Congress party today has come out with 5 questions which it has dared Prime Minister Modi to ask President Trump. 1. Will the Prime Minister confront Trump on the inhumane deportation of Indian citizens? Will he declare that India will send its own aircraft for deportees? Will he publicly oppose Trump's bizarre Gaza proposal? Will he call out Trump on his exit from the Paris Climate Pact? And most importantly, will he condemn racist attacks on H-1B visa holders as unacceptable? In fact, Jairam Ramesh wants the Prime Minister not just to put India first before Trump, but also before Elon Musk. Elon Musk is someone he'll be meeting in about 90 minutes from now. He's asking, first, Tesla must manufacture in India, not just assemble its electric vehicles here. And secondly, Musk needs to be told that India's security is non-negotiable when it comes to Starlink, and spectrum allocation must follow the auction process. So, as Modi meets Trump and Musk, the big question is, will he stand firm on India's interests, or is this going to be just another round of diplomatic concessions? That's the debate this evening, but before we get to that, I'm going straight across to Washington, where my colleague Madhav is joining me from. Good morning, Madhav. Morning for you, evening for us. Terribly cold there in Washington, D.C. But has the chill already crept in ahead of the Modi-Trump talks? Because even before that meeting takes place, President Trump will be holding a press conference announcing reciprocal tariffs. Not sure if India is on the list, but it does spoil the mahal a bit.
Well, good morning from Washington, D.C. As you can see, in fact, all of Washington, D.C., a winter wonderland. The snow, of course, of the last 2 days that has been falling over here, making it extremely chilly this morning. But the meeting isn't expected to be quite as frosty, given the fact that the two leaders have a personal bonhomie, they have an equation, and clearly the areas of cooperation clearly are far bigger and more important than the areas where there are concerns right now.
Who is this?
It's absolutely right that when it comes to tariff, Donald Trump has made a lot of noises and he has in fact threatened a lot. But when it comes down to the implementation, look at just what's happened in the case of Canada and Mexico. He's actually held it back. In the case of India as well, while India has made certain announcements where it has indicated that American goods would not be taxed or they would not have the kind of tariff that they had earlier, clearly it's an indication to Donald Trump in terms of what India's thinking is, and they do not want to get into a clear spat on this entire issue of tariffs right at the beginning of the Trump administration. But will that be enough? Remember that President Trump has asked for many more things. He also expects that FDI, for instance, is a two-way street. He wants Indian companies to invest in the United States and not just US companies investing in India. He wants more purchase as far as American products are concerned, including, of course, the important area of defense hardware. Now, how much of that will actually happen on ground, we don't know at the moment. There's also the very, very tricky issue of immigration, under which the Indian government, of course, has been under pressure from the opposition, domestically speaking. But it's also a fact that the United States has taken a position, in fact, President Trump taking that position in his entire election campaign. And so there is domestic pressure on him as well. So how all of these issues really play out remains to be seen. But the overriding factor is this, that India and United States have so much in common, not just in terms of their own strategic interest or their strategic partnership, common threats, for instance, that exist, whether it comes to trade, whether it comes to strategic affairs, and also the fact that the two countries have seen a huge amount and have gained a lot from, for instance, the Indian community that's present here in the United States, and that's contributed so much. And you see that reflected in not just the Trump administration, but also in the corporate sector here, with several top CEOs, leaders who are from the Indian American community, who've made it with their sheer talent, their hard work and merit. So there's so much more than what really meets the eye in terms of what will be discussed. But yes, two important meetings, a Modi-Trump one-on-one, and of course a bilateral meeting that will take place at the delegation level as well. So one will have to wait and see till the end of the day what really are the big takeaways. But even if there isn't a big bang announcement, a big ticket announcement, the fact is that it is about continuity. It is for after 4 years that the two are meeting as leaders of the respective countries. It's really being seen as a handshake and also a roadmap ahead for the next 4 years, because remember that they will be talking on multiple occasions as they have, in the Trump 1.0 or the first administration of Donald Trump. And one will really have to see, how that roadmap and how that handshake really, of course, portends the kind of, relationship that the two countries will have and what really is there in the future for the next 4 years. Back to you.
My guest this evening, Veena Sikri, is a former diplomat. She's joining us on the broadcast. Thanks, madam. Good to have you on the show. Thank you very much. We'll keep coming back to you. Advocate APS Khadial is spokesperson of the Congress Party, joining us as well. Manish Bharia is a political analyst, speaks on behalf of the BJP. Thank you very much. Sanjay Jha is an author, joining us on the broadcast. And my colleague Shrinjoy is here in the studio with us. Shrinjoy, before I go to my guests, a quick question to you here. This is a bit of a surprise then, is it? That right before the meeting, you have President Trump tweeting to say the big day is here and I'm going to announce reciprocal tariffs. Who does that?
Well, first of all, the only thing predictable about Donald Trump is unpredictability. So you are going to expect this and you will get this for 4 years. But as far as tariffs are concerned, India has actually made it very clear, and we don't expect such a bad deal. Because whenever tariff comes up during these talks, the first thing we will say is that, look, Harley-Davidson is your favorite deal, right? And CKD imports, the tariff in India is 10%. Semi-knockdown is 20%. You're buying the whole thing, it's 30% slashed from 50%. So that's how we've started, is what we are going to tell Donald Trump.
Okay.
After that, we are going to say, look, let's do this below radar. Let's do this quietly. Let's do this quickly. But let's not make a fuss in public.
Okay. Veena Sikri, but the point is, at least the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks have shown us that Donald Trump doesn't do anything quietly. He wakes up in the morning, he tweets, he calls a press conference, he signs executive orders, and it's done. My point to you is, you are meeting a man you have called your friend, and he said that a multiple number of times. Is this how you welcome a friend? Even before you meet him, you're announcing reciprocal tariffs. You're saying this is going to be the big day. Now, I don't know whether there are reciprocal tariffs on India or whether they are on the rest of the world. I'm not sure of that. But I'm saying this is completely crazy, even by Trump standards.
No, I think that let's give him the benefit of doubt and let's wait till the meeting actually takes place. So I think him announcing some kind of reciprocal tariff will give our people some kind of idea as to what he has in mind. And I think we have gone there well prepared. We have gone there well prepared. The budget had the concessions that they had been looking for. Maybe they will ask for more. I'm sure we'll be able to negotiate even on things like FDI by Indian companies in America. Many Indian companies are happy to go ahead and do FDI. I think President Donald Trump, even in the run-up to even in the campaign to the running up to the elections and post-election, he has shown enough serious concern about building on the India-US friendship. He's shown a lot of serious concern, and the very fact that the very first meeting, the bilateral meeting for Marco Rubio with Secretary of State Marco Rubio was with Dr. Jaishankar, and the first multilateral meeting was the Quad foreign ministers. So I think that it has shown that they are attaching a lot of serious interest to their relationship in this area. We do know during campaigning, President Trump spoke about the chaos in Bangladesh. He spoke about barbaric attacks on Christians and Hindus in Bangladesh. He knows what's going on in the region. So whether it is regional issues, whether it is bilateral issues like trade and tariff, and certainly even on issues like illegal immigration, we have shown that we are prepared to look at him, talk to his administration, and work out agreements and understandings that meet both sides, that meet the interests of both sides. Now, there will always be now in India, for example, this huge hullabaloo about the way the illegal immigrants brought back. Certainly, the visuals are very disturbing, and certainly we have taken it up with the American government that we are willing to take back our own citizens who have gone illegally to the US, but we want to talk about how it is done. And the next time around, we should ask for bringing them back in our own planes so that the problem can be solved. So for every problem, there is a solution. And given the overarching interest between India and the US in moving ahead, I think solutions will be found to all issues.
Okay, so but right ahead of the meeting, there is no doubt about the fact that President Trump is playing hardball. As you say, Veena Sikri, I agree with you. Let's see how the meeting happens, because all this while President Trump has called India a great tariff abuser, tariff king, etc., he's never directly targeted Prime Minister Modi. He's targeted India, but he's never targeted Prime Minister Modi. And that brings me to APS Khadial. APS Khadial, Trump is a tricky character to deal with, right? He's playing hardball right now. This is your prime minister. This is your prime minister who has gone to the United States to make a case for you and make a case that there are no tariffs or duties imposed on Indian goods. Why is it that in a situation like this, should the Congress party come out with these 7 questions for Donald Trump and Elon Musk? Abhi karne ki kya zarurat hai? This is an international trip. Let him do what he needs to do. And what he needs to do is put India first, which I'm sure is what the Congress wants as well.
Well, first and foremost, Shreya, on one hand, US is deporting Indians, is violating their human rights, is treating them like hardened criminals who have done some heinous crimes, and our Prime Minister does not do anything about that. That's number one. Number two, H-1B visa holders are being subjected to a bias. Nothing has been done or said about that by the Prime Minister. Then our image is being spoiled in front of the world. A military aircraft from US landed on Indian soil with immigrants. And countries like Venezuela and Colombia could send their aircrafts, but our government did not want to do that because Delhi elections were on the verge of happening, and they were afraid that it would have an impact on it. So that's why they sacrificed our image just in order to have a benefit in the elections. And number 4, Elon Musk, when he was supposed to have a meeting with the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, days before he cancelled it, when he was supposed to announce investments of billions of dollars and he did not come here. And now Mr. Modi, when all of this is being done by US, by Elon Musk, etc., Mr. Modi has done what? Slashed import duties on farm produce and on Harley-Davidson motorcycles that Mr. Trump apparently really loves and likes. And number two, has committed to amend the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. And there is going to meet Elon Musk there, who cancelled on the Prime Minister days before, and he was able to go to other places, Elon Musk, and then have all the meetings, but not with us. Now, here the point is, Shreya, will Mr. Modi show up the courage and the spine to stand for our fellow brethren? Will he voice the concerns that US cannot treat us like that you cannot violate the human rights of our Indian citizens, and that if you do that, we will speak against it? Here on, you have been, helping US in every which way possible, appeasing Mr. Trump. Why does the Prime Minister not want to stand with his fellow brethren, with Indians? The fact of the matter is that at 2:30 a.m., Mr. Modi's...
Why are you jumping the gun? Mr. Khadial, why are you jumping to conclusions? How do you know what the Prime Minister and President Trump are going to talk about? How do you know that the Prime Minister is not going to bring up the way that the deportees were sent back? How do you know that he will not fight back on tariffs?
I'll tell you, because it's already
ये तो आपने assume कर लिया ना, पहले ही villain बना दिया.
Assume नहीं किया. Number one, there is no assumption at all whatsoever. It's been days since our Indian brethren were deported, when they were put in chains. They were handcuffed, kept there without basic facilities, and it included women and children as well. And Mr. Modi, if by now he was concerned, if he stood with Indians, he would have spoken against it. He would have condemned it. Until now, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government hasn't said that we will address the concerns. I want to ask the BJP spokesperson, if he or she is there, will you be condemning Mr. Trump's actions, or will you be again appeasing Mr. Trump? Because here the fact of the matter is, Shreya, every time they did this, Mr. Modi could have intervened, could have spoken, could have done something about it. Being the Prime Minister, he's the representative of India. He's the face of India. And despite that, nothing has been done. That is why it is unfortunate.
How do you know?
That is why we are condemning it. Sorry?
We'll see when the second plane comes. If it comes, I'm saying, how do you know? We'll see if the second plane comes, if it comes.
No. What of the last couple of
Manish Barrier, would you want to come in and respond here? My limited question to you was that this is an important foreign trip with a president who is very unpredictable. You need to be ready for his unpredictableness, and you need to be in a position to have a conversation with him. That starting point as far as tariffs is concerned is Harley-Davidson. That's my limited point that I'm making to you, Advocate Khadial, where India will go and say, look, this is what we have done. You've been asking for this. We have done this. Now, please don't put these 25-30% tariffs on us or 10% tariffs on us. Give us these concessions. Help us with our nuclear energy program, etc. This is how you begin to talk. Na, सब कुछ TV कैमरे के सामने और माइक के सामने थोड़ी ना होता है. But Manish Barrier, please go ahead.
Good evening to you and my co-panelists and viewers. Unfortunately, loads of people coming to India from US, illegal migrants, is not something new. I think the spokesperson of Congress should also hear what Mr. Shashi Tharoor had to say. It's very unfortunate, but that's the reality. I would also admit that military plane coming, I don't think anybody liked it, including me. And I'm sure government would have seized this matter and would take that, which Mr. External Affairs Minister has also said that this is something which we would be raising, or we are in the process of raising that. But diplomacy is not done by shouting. It is not done, as you yourself said. There are deep collaborations that are happening between India and US, and the Prime Minister as well as the government has to ensure that that is taken care of. So it's something which is, that's why this meeting is there, and we have to understand that India is a collaborator with US. So on some fronts, India is going to really cooperate, and on some fronts, we are going to compete. And that's what modern diplomacy is all about. With China, we had so much of issues. But look at the kind of trade which is there, as well as in this present government, as well as with Congress government. So it's not that, the people from Congress party, they don't understand. But I don't know why they are making so much of hue and cry over it. I think it's very, very, as you yourself said, Mr. Trump is highly unpredictable. All the guests were saying. I think we need to tread with a lot of care. And India would look at its own interest. A lot of times for national interest, you have to speak less and maybe, walk back channels. And I think, look at France. We have got some concessions, some very good collaborations with France. And that's what we expect from this trip. And I would quote you that Mr. Trump has never said anything, Mr. Modi. He has talked about India, but obviously, his concerns are very, US-centric, and he has every right to speak about it. So as our country has the right to do what it wants to do with. We have done with oil. So our diplomacy is not, something which is weak. We have got oil from Russia in spite of the fact that US didn't like. Right, so we've taken our own stand and our national interest we have pursued.
Well, now we may very well be in a situation where we'll have to buy oil from America, even though it'll be more expensive than Russian oil. Let's see what happens in the talk. That's quite possible as well. Sanjay Jha, just come in here. The point is this. Every president or prime minister or head of state bats for their own interest, right? For Prime Minister Modi, it'll be Make in India. For President Trump, it'll be Make in America. Both of them are doing what is right by their own country. In a situation where you have a new president who's trying to prove a point to his own constituency back home by announcing these reciprocal tariffs right ahead of his meeting with Prime Minister Modi, for some time, will we have to play by America and Trump's rules? Is that the pragmatic thing to do? Do we have concerns? Of course we have concerns. Who likes to see a military plane land in and your own citizens in chains? India, I'm sure, has brought it up, and India has said it has brought it up.
Yep.
There is an H-1B visa problem. For 20 years, people have not got it. These are concerns, 100%. Tariffs are our immediate concern. But will we have to take it slow? Should we not expect some dhamakedar miracle to come out of this meeting?
Shreya, you've asked some very pertinent questions. First and foremost, both Donald Trump and our own Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, use foreign policy to a great extent to play to the domestic gallery. So, for example, when our illegal immigrants were sent in a US military plane, handcuffed and chained, it played to the satisfaction and the joy and the delight and the expectations of Mr. Trump's largely white, voting population. I mean, that's exactly the promises that he made. It humiliated us, but that's what he's doing. And you look at the reality that today, if Donald Trump is talking about America first, it's no different from Prime Minister Modi talking about Atmanirbhar. They are both inward-looking, protectionist, wanting to create manufacturing in their own countries. India had a Make in India, has been pretty unsuccessful. And talking about creating jobs, that's exactly the same language. Now, here is the problem. The problem is, let's not try and get carried away in this rhetoric of bhakti. American GDP is around 10 times our size. And I'm not even going to talk about their military prowess and the kind of geopolitical influence they have. And in Donald Trump, they got a mercurial, skittish, and to be honest, somebody who's going to run this presidency based on the collateral attributes of a madman theory. So let's be real, whether it's Mr. Modi, whether it's Mr. Macron, you are dealing with somebody who is an extremely unusual character. Now, let's come back to what India's problem is going to be. If you go by his tweet, Shreya, don't forget that he is being consistent here. I have worked with American companies, so I will tell you this much. He's a businessman, and he's become a politician. Now, American businesses and politicians have a very simple bottom line. What's in it for me? Straight and uncomplicated. Donald Trump, I have followed him for a long time as part of my political, kind of research. He has gone on record to call India the king of tariffs. He's called us a tariff abuser, which means a country that imposes tariffs on American exports and basically, wants its own exports to be getting into America without any kind of cost. Now, that is what he's going to look at, because India's trade deficit, or rather the American trade deficit with India, is as high as anywhere between 32 billion to 45 billion. I don't know what the exact numbers are as on today. He is going to leverage that because his model is that if you put tariffs on Indian exports, you're going to make domestic manufacturing in America, kind of go up, and that will create jobs. It may not happen, probably will not happen, but that's what he's going to do. And I think Mr. Modi should recognize that America, when it pushes you around, because we have got caught in this whole conversation of being the bulwark against China and therefore Quad, and therefore India will always be a blue-eyed boy with Donald Trump and America. It may work, because let's not ignore that whether Bill Clinton, whether Barack Obama, George Bush, Joe Biden, or even Donald Trump in his first term, India's relationship with America has been fairly stable, largely because everyone believes that India will be the fortress to ensure that China's incursions or his hegemony in our part of the world will be curtailed. Let's see what happens. Early days, I would not blame Mr. Modi if he actually comes back with nothing, but it will be better than coming back with a bad deal.
Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. We are counting down to that big meeting between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. Ahead of that, of course, he meets Elon Musk as well. So those pictures should be coming in about 60 minutes or so. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Sanjay Jha, for joining us on the broadcast. Manish Bariyar, APS Khadial, and Veena Sikri, good to have you on the show. And thank you so much, Srinjoy, for being with us. And you'll be with us through this evening.
Yes,
and
of course.
And it's going to be a long one.
Yes.
We'll get you coffee.
Undoubtedly.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Shreya Dhoundial is joining you up next with all the day's headlines. Do stay with us.